welcome to The Real Money Show, the number 18778-SILVER and the website guildhallwealth.com. Today we have a jam-packed show, mostly because we have a great interview coming up with Gerald Celente of the Trends Journal, and he's going to be talking everything from lockdowns, freedoms, and the Bitcoin and gold, so stay with us. It's going to be a great show. Also, later in the show, we're going to talk about the London Bullion Market Association. Obviously, all of the products we have at Guildhall are LBMA approved, but the LBMA has vaults all over the world. This is about trading physical gold, and they just put a great newsletter out. I shouldn't say it's great, but they did put a newsletter out for the first time talking about silver investment, and Jerry cracks the case on this. You'll be talking about this a little bit later. Can we have a little bit of a hint as to what this is going to be about?
Well, last March that just passed, we had the Silver Squeeze episode where tremendous attention and demand just swelled and put so much pressure on these LBMA vaults that if this continued, they didn't have enough silver for another couple weeks. So very exciting times. So
we'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about the derivative market and what that could mean for the physical precious metals market. So again, a jam-packed show. If you want to find out more, you can give us a call at 18778-SILVER and the website guildhallwealth.com. And let's get to this interview.
He has earned the reputation as today's most trusted name in trends for his accurate and timely predictions, who last February predicted $2,000 gold, which hit 2075. He is the publisher of the Trends Journal, founder, director of the Trends Research Institute, which is celebrating its 40th year. Welcome back to The Real Money Show, Gerald Celente.
Gerald, welcome to The Real Money Show. Great to speak with you again.
Oh, it's great being on with you. Thanks for having me.
You know, the last time we spoke was actually just about a year ago, just before they started shutting everything down, and obviously it's been quite a year. I think our talk with you that time was quite poignant at the time, because you were talking about the COVID war, and it really has turned into a war. One of the things I've been meaning to ask you is, you know, one of the sense I get from people that we speak to is a lot of people are just waiting for things to get back to normal. If we could just get back to normal. Do you think there's going to be, quote unquote, a back to normal?
You know, it wasn't normal before this, just to make it clear. And so, no, it's not. It's only going to continue to get worse. The powers that these politicians have given themselves in destroying so many different businesses, and you're not an essential business is a big business. A small business is non-essential. They've destroyed the lives of hundreds of millions of people, lives and livelihoods around the world. And again, I'm not making these numbers up. You look at them, and particularly in the emerging markets. You think there's immigration problems now? You haven't seen anything. And again, nobody. The facts don't count. Oh, you're up there in Canada, huh? Let's see. According to Lancet, 80% of the people that have died are from nursing homes. And once you get out of a nursing home, then you go to day camp and you start all over again. I mean, you're on your way out. You look at the numbers. The people that are dying from this are, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, over 94% of the people have 2.6 pre-existing comorbidities. So why does the United States and the UK have such high rates of death? It couldn't be because 42% of Americans are obese, 70% overweight, same thing in the UK. So nobody talks about building up your immune system. So they've destroyed the global economy. And with these negative and zero interest rate policies, you can see what's going on. Look at the merger and acquisition activity. Poof, it's zooming again. So the bigs are getting bigger, and everybody else is getting smaller and going out. This is unprecedented in world history.
And you wonder how much it can keep going. I mean, one of the things you're saying, yeah, the bigger companies are getting bigger. Everyone sees that too. I mean, anyone who goes to the liquor store here in Ontario, they wonder, how come I can just walk into this store, but I can't go into a regular store. And especially people who own and work in restaurants, they're probably beside themselves when they go into these stores and say, how come I can go into a Walmart, but I can't have people come into my restaurant? It's crazy. But another thing that we're seeing as well is, and I noticed this, that people, they are seeing it. There is no denying the amount of debt that the government and central banks have been pushing into the system. And in the states, between Congress and the current administration pushing out these packages and more debt. And there's even people wondering, why do we need a new package? I mean, isn't the country already opening? They're giving away trillions. How does this ever get paid back?
It doesn't. It doesn't. Look, if there weren't, that's the other thing. This shows you what sleaze these people are. The numbers that they give, they're putting out 1.9 trillion, right? Well, that's like saying $99.99. How about 2 trillion? Could you say that? No, we got to pretend it's lower than that. They're not going to be able to pay it back. The U.S. debt to GDP ratio right now is the highest it's been since the end of World War II, 1945-46. And that's because of all the money they spent to fight the war and going into debt. So now it's the COVID war. And now how are they going to pay it? They're not going to pay it back. Gold prices and silver prices, right now, gold would be selling for $3,000, $4,000 an ounce, and silver well over $100 if there weren't such a thing called cryptocurrencies. Because the young people are going, and a lot of people are going into that area. People say to me, they call me a futurist. I say, no, I'm not a futurist. Nobody could predict the future. I'm a trend forecaster. Who would have ever believed 12 years ago that there would be a thing called cryptocurrencies? So what I'm saying is the whole game has changed. What they're going to do is they're doing it already, and we've been writing about it in the magazine, the Trends Journal. China's on the leading edge. They're all going to go digital. You don't want that dirty cash, we're going to digital trash. So now we know every penny you spent, where you spent it, how you spent it, what you spent it on, and now we got all the algorithms to really control more of your life. And you mentioned about going into a liquor store in Ontario. Why were liquor stores all of a sudden liquor is an essential business? The Slimers, these are the people that had prohibition back in the 20s, right? But hey, let's do away with prohibition. Let's make liquor legal. You know why? Because we tax the hell out of them. And we're a bunch of low-life scum called politicians who never work a day in our lives and been sucking off the public tit. So we need more money coming in so we don't have to keep working. And all of the losers out there called bureaucrats, we could pay them too because they're in the system and they keep us going. So what they're going to do is they're going digital so they could get every tax penny that they can get. And this is what's going to happen, and that's how they're going to erase the debt. We're coming out with a new currency. The other one, that's dirty dollars and dirty coins. They're going to make up another lie. Look what they've done. Look how the people follow so easily. We're marching off to the COVID war the same way they Heil Hitler, marched to Mussolini, and saluted Stalin. And again, as we had one of the covers of the Trends Journal, dumb enough to believe George W. Bush's wars, dumb enough to believe the COVID war. Let me tell you something. That guy, Saddam Hussein, he has weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda.
One of the things that we've also seen, I think you're kind of hitting on that. I'm wondering, just curiously, this idea of marching us off to war. I've heard some theories about that part of the reason of needing this war is so that central banks can do this conversion into a new system and into this cashless society where they've got you, which means there's less liberties. Are you seeing a trend in that sense or that connection?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's total control. Who would have ever believed this a year ago? Who would have ever believed it? Look at the lowlives you got. You got that and by the way, it's one big club, as George Carlin used to say, and you ain't in it. Look, you got people say to me sometimes, Celente, you should watch your language. No, I'm using the proper language. You know what improper language is? To call a little daddy's boy like you got up there in Canada, Doug Ford, premier. How did you get there? Oh, your father was there before you? How'd you get in this bill? Was your father's business? I got this guy Cuomo over here. He'd be a nobody if Daddy wasn't Mario. I mentioned George W. Bush. Look at that little clown. He could be the cover of Mad Magazine back in the day with Alfred E. Newman. His daddy was George Bush. Oh, and his grandpa was Prescott Bush. Oh, yeah, the Prescott Bush that was selling stuff to the Nazis. Oh, yeah, that one, yeah. It's one big club, and the club is getting more control. The people have lost their freedom. There's no Constitution. There's no Bill of Rights. These little crapheads made things up. Executive order. What do you mean executive order? Who the hell are you? I'm the governor. I'm the premier. Oh, there's no we the people anymore. Gone. Dead. Finished.
And, in speaking of freedom, though, a lot of people, just from an economic standpoint, a lot of people see cryptocurrencies as freedom, that they're outside the control. And oftentimes you end up, I don't know, I think it's because a lot of concepts were appropriated from gold, that you end up with this conversation where crypto is pitted against gold. Personally, I don't see it that way. Do you see it as something an either or, a binary, or do you think there's room for all of it? What's your view on the debate overall?
To me, crypto, again, we had said in the magazine, in the Trends Journal last June, this past June 2020, that when Bitcoin broke over $10,000, it was going to skyrocket. And the reason being is that there's a whole different generation. It's a whole different world. It's a digital world. And that's what they see as the future. However, you're going to see when the governments, they're already doing it in India and China, they're going to clamp down on this. They could close it down in a second, just as they did back in, 1933, when the President of the United States, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, declared, you're not allowed to own gold. Boop, game over. Same thing with cryptocurrencies. That's why we're still more bullish on gold. Cryptos have a life, but the life could end. And again, they're already saying it. They're already putting out the hints. You had Christine Lagarde, the head of the European Central Bank, formerly the head of the IMF, and Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, warning, people could, they could transfer money and do dirty deals with cryptocurrencies. Oh, yeah, like they're not doing it with cash, right? Money laundering. Oh, they're not money laundering with cash. So they're going to use it as an excuse. There's going to be a time when they close down cryptocurrencies. I don't believe at all this time they will try to confiscate gold. It won't happen because the people that buy gold are hip to the scene. There's no way they're going to get it. I'll tell you a quick story. My grandfather, and they all rest in peace, my father told me the story back in 1933. He said, your grandfather had a lot of gold when they came. So, they were real patriots because, they were the Italian immigrants. They came here and they made their lives. They were free. They loved. It was a different America back then. And he said, "All right, go over to your grandfather's house, and he's packing up all the gold." I said, "Pop, what are you doing with this?" He said, "Oh, the government wants it back." He said, "I'm going to give it to him." My father said, "Don't give it to him. Are you crazy?" No, how could you say that? And my grandfather gave him back the gold. And so this time it's different because the people that buy gold, now they know the history of it. And there's no way the government's going to get it, and there's no way they're going to call it back as I see it.
The number 18778-SILVER, the website guildhallwealth.com. You've been listening to The Real Money Show, and we'll be right back. Thanks for sticking with us. It's The Real Money Show, the number 18778-SILVER, the website guildhallwealth.com. And we've got a great interview going on with Gerald Celente of the Trends Journal. Let's get back to it. For you, then, gold ownership is less speculative and more about preservation, or do you think there's a speculative aspect to gold as well?
They're both. There's a speculative, absolutely. To me, gold right now is way, 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 way below where its real price. And let's make this 100% clear. The game is rigged. No, that's not a conspiracy theory. That's a fact. What happened in 2020? Was it J.P. Morgan Chase had to pay $900 million? Chicken feed, nothing. Slap on the wrist for rigging the precious metals market, gold and silver. So they don't want the money junkies out there that play the markets don't want gold and silver to go up because it shows how bad things are. And you mentioned before about inflation. Inflation's skyrocketing. Home building right now, to build an average home, it costs just in lumber $24,000 more. That's real money. And we're all seeing inflation going up. And they asked Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, what are you going to do to stop inflation? Well, we have the tools. What tools? Well, you're BSing. What tools? You're making the crap up as you go along. So anyway, inflation is going to keep going up. Gold is going to keep going up, and that's why it's going up now. Because the reality is hitting. You cannot keep pumping in all of this fake money into the system without devaluing the currencies. And it's going to be a global devaluation of currencies. And here's the other side of the story, by the way. One of our top trends for 2021 is China 2021. The 20th century was the American century. The 21st century is the Chinese century. They're taking over. They one way after another. Look at the GDP numbers that just came out on China. Look at the numbers, the growth. So it's just going to keep skyrocketing like that. It's not going to stop because again, the business of America has been war, and the business of China is business. So their economy grew, like over 18%. And they've been growing since. They were the only major country is the same thing in 2020 that had positive GDP growth. So they're going to be the first to clamp down on cryptocurrencies. They already did it a little bit once before. They're going to do it heavy because they're going major into digital cash.
Actually, there was an interview out recently, I think it was yesterday, a couple days ago, with Stephen Lieb on King World News, and he was talking about that. He was saying that the majority of the mining of Bitcoin in particular is done in China, which means they're the ones who could easily stamp this out very, very quickly because they're the ones in control of the mining.
And they're in control of everybody. And by the way, one of our covers of the magazine, the Trends Journal, was when the COVID war began. We had that tank man that happened in Tiananmen Square when they had the protest against communist China taking over so much control of the people. And we had Tank Man 2.0, the Chinese way you must obey. We become the Chinese. You could put on those masks like the Chinese used to wear. They wore them because of the air pollution. 1.5 million people die a year from that. But also the total control the Chinese have over the government. The government has over the people. And it's the same thing now has happened in every country, around virtually every country. I mean, Italy, lockdown. France, one after lockdown. Belgium, the Supreme Court said, no, this is illegal. You can't do this. We're doing it anyway. So it's going on and on like this. They're in total control, and I believe they're going to end crypto at some point. When, I don't know. But it's going to happen because they're not going to want competition, and because they're all going to come in with their digital coins.
Now let's talk a little bit about freedom. You're a freedom fighter. And, obviously with these lockdowns, it also feels with the masks too that people's voices are being censored, and you're seeing censor in big tech and those sorts of things. But we've got a couple minutes left, and I wanted to talk to you about this because I've noticed over the course of the year that even with censorship, your profile, for instance, on YouTube seems to have grown. That there seems to be a demand for voices like yours out there. Are you finding that? Are you finding, people are more interested in Trends Journal? There's more people interested, that your viewership is growing and such?
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's the people that are about freedom. We estimate that well over a third, between a third to 39%, 40% of the people are opposed to what's going on. And remember, it does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority, keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men since Samuel Adams. And that's what's going on now. there's a big group of people. They're anti-tax, anti-vax, anti-immigration, anti-establishment.
Just want to take a quick moment from the interview. Let you know that if you'd like to acquire some physical precious metals, you can do so with Guildhall Wealth, the number 18778 silver, the website, guildhallwealth.com. And let's get back to the interview.
And they've had it with this stuff going on. Look at the losers. Oh, yeah, I talked about Daddy's boys. You got one up there, Trudeau. You think that little boy would be anything if Daddy wasn't there before him? How many people feel like that? And it's one place after another. Name the country. And so the people have had it. And by the way, I'm having a rally in Kingston, New York on May 29th at the Four Corners of Freedom, John and Crown Street. I own 3. It's the only corner in America with pre-Revolutionary War stone buildings. And I own 3 of them. And we have the big garden, the Crown Garden. And I had a rally last 4th of July. I'm having one for freedom, peace, and justice on May 29th. Of course, the people from Canada, you won't be able to come down here unless you get your vaccination passport, maybe, you know. But anyway, we're holding. I'm fighting. I'm fighting for freedom. And when I said 33, 40% of the people, you beat the other ones very easily because they're not fighters; they're followers. So if we unite for peace, and I got to make this 100% clear, I can't do it on my own. You can't fight this on your own. You need everybody to unite, and you have to put your money where your heart is, because you look what the numbers just came out yesterday. The Wall Street gang put in $3 billion. Oh no, I'm sorry, $2.9 billion. Again, they put the 0.9 into the 2020 campaigns in America. All right? You need the money to make it happen. And our site is occupypeace.com, occupypeace.com. You know, we're doing everything we can to fight this. Because I was born free. You know, I'm one of the luckiest men. I was born in 1946, right after the war. It was a whole different world, and I'm a Napolitano. I had that. My blood is Italian, but my heart is American. I was born in the Bronx, born to be free. You were born to be free. You didn't have all this junk going on that tells you what you should think, how you should think it. Blah, 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 blah. My father, may he rest in peace, I'd be shooting off my mouth and repeating what everybody else was saying, and he'd say to me in Italian, "Papagallo, parrot, stop repeating what everybody else is saying. And think for yourself." Now you're not allowed to think for yourself. You're a conspiracy theorist.
And, and the key really, what you're talking about is staying informed. And I think, did you just launch a new issue of Trends Journal this week?
Yeah, 175 pages.
And how can people get the Trends Journal? Because it was funny, because I had a client come in today, pick up some product, and we were chatting, and he was talking about an article. He said, "Yeah, I just read something in the Trends Journal." I said, we're having Gerald on today. So, people love the Trends Journal. How can they get the Trends Journal? And can you tell our listeners a little bit, if they've never seen it before or heard of it, what does it entail?
All you do is go to trendsjournal.com. And we're only charging $129 a year. It's like $2 an issue. And as I said, 175 pages this last edition, and no advertisements. So we look at what's going on around the world, and we say, this is what's going on, this is what it means, and this is what's next. So we give trend posts and trend forecasts so you can prepare, prevail, and prosper. And again, the motto is think for yourself. This is what's going on. This is what it means. This is how we see it developing. And we're political atheists. We don't take positions. There's no media anymore. You listen to Rupert Murdoch's son, again, a daddy's boy, Lachlan Murdoch, born on third base. I can't stand these guys with their attitudes, that got there, with daddy got them there, and now they're telling you what to do and how to think. He came out and said, it was in the Financial Times, well, after the elections, that would they be losing audience because Trump wasn't there? And he said, well, no, our audience is center right, and that's what we shoot for. Oh, you're shooting for an audience. You're not. So don't call yourself news. Call yourself a propaganda network, and you're doing what you can to bring in customers, like they all do, and we don't. If you don't like what we say, fine. These are the facts. This is the way we see it. We only put the facts in there. That's it. And we say what it means and where it's going. And again, a third of our subscription base is overseas because the people want to know what's going on, and they know they can't get it from any other media source. Look what's happened to all the newspapers. They've been bought up by hedge funds and private equity groups. Hedge funds, private equity groups. Again, the bigs are taking over everything. Those two words did not exist for most of my life.
Wow, I did not know about that. It's so important to have a place where you can get some additional information. I don't want to call it alternative information. Unfortunately, it's kind of like the conspiracy theory thing, where it's like if you question anything, if you ask a question, now you're a conspiracy theorist. But just the idea of being able to get some news and get some information, and then, okay, if you want to go to your mainstream, you go to your mainstream, and you can have them work against each other just to get some actual sense of what's really happening. Gerald, it's been so great chatting with you. Great to have you on. I'm sorry it's been so long, but again, great to have you. Thank you so much.
And thank you for all that you do.
We'll speak to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Another fantastic interview with the one and only Gerald Celente. You're listening to The Real Money Show on Global News Radio 640 Toronto, the number 18778 Silver, the website guildhallwealth.com.